Oh, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another week of our adventures in that silly yellow house back there. We've been hanging out in Florida for a few months now as Shane has been building something really, really cool. That means the Love Hut has been sitting still. We haven't. We've been traveling all over this state, seeing some really beautiful things, kayaking with the manatees and the monkeys, and seeing a lot of the Florida state parks, all while Shane builds something really cool. He has been turning this ERV or emergency response vehicle into an awesome
spaceship. Kelsey, it's a spaceship. Man. And I'm rolling around in the dirt because I'm working on, the parts that really bring it all together, which are the water tanks and the water heater and the lights, and all the stuff that make it a camper. I have spent many weeks planning logistically to make all this come together rather abruptly, because if you guys have been with me through any of my other conversions, right before the end, it's absolute chaos, and then we're done. Last week we ended with me hossing this water heater around, trying to get it in this hole. This week, I'm going to be hanging that propane tank down there, that water tank on the other side I've been wrestling with, and all the plumbing and... Kelsey, this is the best part. Boy, howdy, I'm excited.
Close.
Oh, let's get rid of all these piles of stuff.
Let's do it, guys.
Now I know what you're thinking, at least some of you. Shane, why the chaos? Why not just finish one thing and then move on to the next? Do all the electrical, all the plumbing, build all the cabinets, yada, yada, yada. Like you renovate a house. I've tried it that way. It doesn't work because this stuff is all interwoven. And there's a very important thing that I don't live inside of a hardware store, so every time I have to get supplies, it has to be brought to me, which means I have to make sure I'm ordering as much as I can, and you have to plan for everything down to washers and screws and how many you're going to need. Let's see what more we can get done today. I hope this tank sticks.
Meanwhile, I have some projects to finish up inside of our house. Last week ended in absolute heartbreak as this fancy little epoxy fold-up seat that I've been working on came to a halt when we realized that all of that tape is sticking to the epoxy. I think I'm gonna be able to save it and still make something really cool out of it. But it's gonna take a lot of work, y'all.
All right, y'all, stay with me. Now that I have got the placement of my tank, a tape measure only does so much. Real life application, if you're off by an inch, that can mean the world. So now we have this nice void between our secondary starter battery and the front of that tank where the plumbing connects. I'm going to be putting an access door here, and then if you drill straight up, it takes you to this area here. Now, I've already taken the liberty of removing what I've once put together, but mostly, I'm kind of flexing how awesome this whole setup is. With 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. The booth came apart, and now we're going to be able to get this tank mounted as well. We're using a different system on this one. Because we have all of this aluminum bar hidden in the walls, I know where it's at. I'm going to be attaching D-rings to that, as well as this wheel well cover. And we're going to be using big ratchet straps to hold down this tank. Oh, creativity, man. That's my friend.
Well, guys, I officially cannot feel my hands at all. That little sander really takes it out of you. But there's no more blue left. Unfortunately, there's no more stain left either, so I'm gonna have to redo that, but I'll take it. I think that this fogginess will go away with the remaining pours of epoxy. If not, it still looks pretty dope. Let's keep going.
Okay, now in an effort to keep the day interesting, I have got my first run of brackets holding our water tank up here, and now we have this nice void between the secondary starter battery and the front of the box. Now my intent is to put a hole right here, and we'll put a door over it. But now that we have that information of exactly where the tank is gonna stop, it's time to stop doing that and come inside. And here, I'm gonna flex the abilities of what I've built with just 1, 2, 3 pieces. We're able to get the water tank in and out. Now, we're putting it in. I'm gonna be installing some D-rings and ratchet straps to hold this tank down as well, because it's only accessible from, you know, either side of our sink island here. All right, time for a bit of a catch up here. So I've utilized some rubber matting and I've draped that over the tank. I've got our D-rings installed, and they go into the wheel well cover as well as into the aluminum tubing in the wall. I've also utilized some straps that don't have another connecting in. They only have one lead. So it's a really long one, and it allows you to loop it through 2 contacting points and strap down large objects like water tanks. Now there's a second strap on this side as well, but I've also installed this piece of E-track and anchored it to our wheel well cover to prevent any sort of forward movement if this thing was ever on in a head-on collision. Now, we are in an aluminum cage that does not affect the cab whatsoever, so, you know, it's pretty no holds bar back here, but I still like the idea of everything staying put. I've also purchased this really cool water pump and accumulator board. Normally I build something like this, but it's already got the wiring, so you have a quick connect for the negative and the positive, and when I plumb in the valves on each side, it will allow for an easy disconnect and removal of these items, because water pumps do go out, unfortunately. Just depends on how much you use them, how many hours, and how long you run them at a time. They are not really designed for long periods of running. I keep moving my way around the RV. Finishing one thing at a time. Good morning, y'all. As you can see, Florida's taken out of me today so far. The sun is working, and I'm not complaining. That is much better than the rain. I'm touching up the last coats of this dark color of paint. I sprayed everything out here with an HVLP gun, but this paint just really didn't cover to my liking, so I'm having to go back and hand apply paint over my spray coats. But as you can see, my pile is almost non-existent to what it once was. These large pieces here are the couch slash bed. Those are cabinet pieces. And these are cabinet doors. Let's keep moving, y'all. We're near the end, my friends.
Oh, wow, that's looking good, y'all. I came out this morning and did one more coat after some light sanding and restaining. And it looks like this one is gonna be ready to hang back up this afternoon as soon as that dries. This one is going to need one more coat on the top side after I flip it back over. But just look how clear those circles wound up being. Oh, this is so cool. Can you guys tell I'm excited?
I am busy making lights for all of these cubby holes, but I kind of wanted to show you guys how you make lights out of this stuff because I find it to be very fun. So you get one long rope and you can plug that into a 110 if you want, but all of this is 12 volt and it's marked almost every inch there where that black line is, and you can cut it, and then all you have to do is solder to those non-polar points there, in turn making them polar when you decide on which one's red and which one's black. And then you just fill this little end cap with some silicone and you got yourself a custom length tube light. Here's some I did yesterday. I went ahead and put the silicone inside of them. Let's keep going. Well, while I'm waiting on silicone to dry down there, I have to continue pushing forward with all my little finish up jobs. And one of them is I've had pieces of unistrut waiting to make sure I didn't need them anywhere else before I built the last of a grid work up here. Now originally I decided to put solar long ways down each side of this, but that was not very efficient for usable space, and it also ended up not really allowing for the air conditioner. So I moved things around, and we have one panel that's going to mount here and two back here, and that's going to allow us a bit of a clearing here. So the idea is I'm going to put down this unistrut, and that way if you decide to put decking up here, or if you just want to tie something down, you might even put a small kayak up here. I don't know, I'll have to measure. Let's see what we can get put together though.
Oh, wow, that's looking good, y'all. Christy, I am loving you so much right now. It's gonna take a little bit more work tomorrow, but I think by tomorrow night, I'll have that thing hanging. Put a flower in the sink too. That little house of ours is going to be looking so fancy when we finally hit the road. Let's see how Shane's doing on his art project out here. Shane, it is so dark in there. Can you see what you're doing at all?
I don't need eyes to see this vision, Kelsey. I am sticking lights in places that they go. Tomorrow, hopefully we can see a light show, you know? I don't think I'm gonna do it tonight though, Kelsey. Is it time to stop?
It's time.
I think so. I'm tired. It's hot. It's real hot. Okay, let's be done. Morning, y'all. I'm shooting this one in the shade because Florida is really reminding me that I need to hurry up and get this thing done. And I'm going to point out this ridiculous outfit that I'm wearing, all for a very particular reason. One, this thing keeps my head, from rolling in the sand. Easy ventilation. I've had to upgrade to long socks because apparently this part of Florida has these magical creatures called yellow horseflies, and they are beautiful, but they bite, and they have destroyed my ankles. Oh look, there's one now. Ugh. Let's see if we can pick up where we left off yesterday and get all of this solar up on the roof so I can stop looking at it. They're everywhere.
Oh, I think it's finally done. I shouldn't say that before it's completely dry. I might jinx myself. I'm so ready to see this thing hung though. It's not perfect. It sure is pretty. the flower in the bottom of that bowl turned out pretty cute too. It's all coming together.
If y'all couldn't tell, I just could not bring myself to working on the roof today. I don't like heights, so I've been rolling on the ground. Now, with this water heater out, I've been able to get all of this installed, but now I've got to run propane lines from the water heater to this connection box here, which is a quick connect, to the water heater, and then one line all the way around the back of the bus to connect to this one copper drop. Now, I had an opening of about 4 inches by 4 inches for that thing to come through. But because I hit it just perfectly, I'm gonna be able to run one solid, almost unbent copper line down, and that's where I'll put my first 90. Is where you see that protruding from the bottom of the ambulance. That'll be tucked away and hidden, not protruding, obviously. The stove sits in a shelf that slides over this. Don't worry, it'll make sense. Okay. Now you saw where I was manufacturing a box to hold our water heater. Well, I've removed it and I've got it over there in the sun drying because I've coated it in a rubberized black spray so it has a nice withstanding to the environment. Now, if you notice, I've got a bunch of tape here, and the reason for all that is I've also went ahead and taken the liberty to hang the propane tank. The space was so tight under there, I really couldn't record much of it for you guys. But I've utilized Unistrut and some of the leftover hardware that I had from attaching the solar system. And now I've got that tank hanging. It's time to cut out the access for it. There's a lot that's going in this one area. So all said, we'll have a water heater, we'll have a propane exit, so we'll have a way to put in a quick connect line so you could put a fire pit or a barbecue grill outside of this rig. We'll have an access here so that you can fill that propane tank. We'll also have a way that you can just put a barbecue bottle outside. And then we also have our electrical ports, which are going to be going here, which are part of the conversion as well. So the 30 amp plug as well as the 110 plug. I told y'all, this thing does it all. Now that's a lot of holes. Now that I've got these holes all cut in the side for the water heater and the propane, I need to start running some lines down the length of the RV or ERV, whatever we're calling it, spaceship. We're gonna run some lines under the spaceship because I'm a big guy and I don't want to get all that installed over there and not be able to finish tying my lines in. So I'm going to start by running the propane from where the stove is going to be, or the stove top, which sits over this little drawer area here. And I've hit my mark exactly, and we're going to run a copper line straight down through a 4-inch by 4-inch opening that I hit just perfectly. Now let's get this hidden underneath the underbelly and back around to the propane tank. All right, there's our protrusion where our gas line comes out of the floor. It's further up in that crack, but I don't believe you guys can see it. It's dark down here. I'm utilizing a cutoff valve instead of a union. There's really not a whole lot of practical use for this valve because you're in such high control of these systems, so you could just turn the tank off. But I do like to put them here just in case. And with any valve, as you know, this means it's on. There's something flowing through this valve. If that handle is not in line with the flow, it's off. Easy peasy, y'all. Okay, let's keep moving. I got a long way to go. I wanted to show you what it is I'm doing to run these gas lines. So I'm actually making each individual flared ending using flared nuts and a tool to make them. A lot of people go with an option like this, and this I've purchased because it's going to be used for that plug on the other side to fuel any auxiliary thing like a fire pit or a barbecue grill, and that's what these are great for. The problem is this moves, it pivots, and if you use this in your plumbing, particularly where it goes up into your rig and it is installed with any sort of pressure on that spinning portion there, over time it can and will cause a leak. So because of that, I tend to stay away from this stuff if I'm going to run propane. I try not to run a whole lot of propane in rigs like we're doing with this one. We just have one piece of copper that comes up and attaches to our thing, and that's the only gas that's in the rig. If we can keep everything outside, that's ideal. And what goes inside needs to be the best possible solution for the problem, and that's what these flare nuts are. They are designed for mobile high vibration application. Let's keep going. Well, it's too dark to see inside. It's too dark to see underneath. I think I'm just going to be done for today. I'm going to end my day with copper hanging out of the side of this thing. Tomorrow, I'm going to hook this copper around and bring it towards where the water heater installs. One step closer, y'all. Well, good morning, y'all. I'm prepared for battle with the copper hose again. Today I'm going to continue cramming this one long piece of copper basically across the backside here. Ooh. Down the side. And ultimately ending here. It looks easy. It won't be.
Meanwhile, I am inside the Love Hut continuing my mission to get this place ready to roll. This little board here covers our soda hole, and normally it's on hinges, so it comes out like this. But it has this little notch in it here. As you can see, there's a line across Mary's artwork here as well, and it's all coming from this latch. Meant to keep the drawer from sliding out when we're driving, but it needs to be moved over just a little bit so that these things stop happening. And I'm not talented enough to fix that, but I do think I can come up with something to make that look a little bit better. Let's see how it goes, y'all.
So far, I've spent the bulk of my day crawling around in the sand, which I'm very grateful for. Out of the many substrates I've wallered around in, sand is by far my favorite. But in an attempt to run that copper line all the way around to this locality. Now, I've had to get a little creative with this install. And some of that creativity is because of this tank. This is a super cool tank, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. I'm calling it the tank of the future. But in essence, what we have here is an Undermount tank, and it's specifically designed for basically van life conversions. You hang this tank and it allows you to hang it really anywhere under the vehicle. You don't have to have an immediate exposure on the side like I do have here. It's on the smaller side, so people like to mount these up behind the axles or in front of the axles. And it is plumbed so that you can install remote fill points. So basically a rubber hose that you can mount somewhere, and you can have just a nice little fill, and the bleeder valve here come out, and a lot of times you'll see them hanging down underneath the RV, but the tank will be somewhere underneath the body. It also has an electronic gauge, and you basically have a replication of this that you mount inside the RV. And this is also a solenoid for turning the gas on and off. So I run connections back up inside to a 12-volt switch, and I'll be able to turn the gas on and off without having to come out and once again crawl under the vehicle. Now, all that being said, it is plumbed in a very interesting way, unlike any other tank I've seen. So I've had to get some special parts because they included absolutely nothing with it. They just stick this thing in a box and ship it to you. But the Amazon trucks are on their way as fast as they can get here. So in the meantime, I'm gonna climb the ladder and work on getting the solar panels I have that have patiently been waiting anchored for the last time up there.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna need a few more coats of epoxy before it's ready though. I have moved on to helping Shane with his project, because it's time to get these solar panels back up on the roof. I just handed him one and we've got a couple more to go. Does this mean it's almost time to see the light, Shane?
Sure. Almost. Well, the sun's setting, and I've spent my day getting as filthy as I possibly can. I managed to get the majority of the propane system installed. Some parts arrived today, some more will come tomorrow. I also managed to get all the solar panels up here, of course with Kelsey's help. We're not quite anchored down yet, or attached. That's tomorrow's problem. I'm done for today. I'm off to find the shower.
That looks good. Don't it, Shane? Don't it?
It does. Very creative, Kelsey.
It's gonna look really good in there. I think it's gonna need another layer or two of epoxy tomorrow though.
Good thing, Kelsey.
Yeah. Tape not doing its thing again.
Good morning, y'all. It's not morning. It's the middle of the day. I forgot to record a video. Mostly I've been running around double checking all of my packages to make sure everything came in that I've been waiting on. And I have been trying to solve the mystery of the no latching barn doors. Now, when this thing arrived here for me to work on, this striker bolt, or what these are called, there's a latch at the bottom and the top of each of the doors. It's controlled by, the handle. And this goes down in that hole like so. But you need a nut on the bottom. Now this is an aluminum tube, so you have to precariously cram your arm way up off the ground to get a nut in there, and it's really hard to get a socket in there. So the creators of this conversion, the ambulance conversion or ERV conversion, created this artwork. And that's a nut and a washer and a random piece of steel that they welded together. And when they shove their hand up in that cavity and hold it just right, like so, you then can take your other arm and reach way up here with this bolt and twist them together. And then once you get it to catch, all you have to do is come up here and tighten it with a torque head. Somewhere along the way, someone, I assume, took this one out or it fell, who knows. But it appears that the door hasn't really been functional for many years. They were just shoving a stick between the handles on the inside to keep it latched. Now, through lots of effort on my part, I have gotten another striker bolt that is the right size, but we're still not shutting, and it took me a while to figure it out. But the reason we're not shutting is, once I got down on the ground and looked up, I realized this corner is a lot closer to the frame than that one. So I started checking out the hinges, and this one's slightly rusted, but that one's got a lot of damage on it. And somewhere along the way, I guess, someone put something really heavy on this thing, and it cocked the door ever so slightly. So all I have to do is get these hinges bent back into shape with hopefully just a crowbar, so we can shut the doors on this thing.
I got out this morning and I'm checking on my project. It looks like it's ready for another pour. And I thought I'd show you guys this. That's all of the bare wood left for Shane's project. In the fridge. It'll all go in soon. Hey, I don't know if you can tell under there, but the skies are looking rough.
It's dark under here too, Kelsey. My pieces showed up to my propane system. Look at this. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it out for you. You don't have to come in. All of this had to be purchased, excluding this copper pipe here, to make this tank work, because it doesn't come with everything you need. But clearly it all showed up today, Kelsey. The skies continue to threaten me, but I'm moving forward. My access door for the propane showed up. Now, I do have an aluminum stud to cope with, but the stud is welded here and here. So I'm gonna be cutting out as much as I can. It has a bit of a little brace on the back. We'll get it out of there in no time though. Fancy. Well, as Kelsey hoped, giving you guys a sample of the yellow roof lights or ceiling lights. I've been all around this thing today. I did get this install hatch, or this access hatch installed. If you see there, I also have wires running down to bring up to the electrical system for the control solenoid as well as the valve. Obviously working on lights and still doing my best to get this door situation straightened out. We'll get some more done tomorrow. I can almost certainly guarantee there will be more lights in there tomorrow.
The rain never came today, but everything has remained under tarps just in case. 'Cause it's still not looking pretty out there. It looks like Shane's playing with lights.
You know, I've never had to solder lights for these conversions, but these are totally working.
Yeah, he had them on for a little bit earlier, and they look really, really awesome, guys. Maybe he'll show you tonight.
Well, as Kelsey hoped, giving you guys a sample of the yellow roof lights or ceiling lights. I've been all around this thing today. I did get this install hatch, or this access hatch installed. If you see there, I also have wires running down to bring up to the electrical system for the control solenoid as well as the valve. Obviously working on lights and still doing my best to get this door situation straightened out. We'll get some more done tomorrow. I can almost certainly guarantee there will be more lights in there tomorrow. Good morning, y'all. It's time to tear the plastic off this corner. I've about got most of the lights in position. I have a pile of USB ports that showed up. So today I'm going to be bringing all of that electrical back into this corner. I'm excited for this part. All of this has been covered in plastic for many weeks, so I'm sure some of you have forgotten what it looks like, and some of you have never seen it before. Let's go.
As for my project, it's looking awesome, but I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. When I started pouring the epoxy, these flowers were actually much, much more pressed. But the epoxy woke them up, rehydrated them, and caused them to fluff out a little bit, which is making a really cool effect, but it's also making them really hard to cover completely, which is kind of necessary for this project to work. That's making this thicker than I want it to be, and also I'm running out of epoxy over there. So I've had a weight, actually the anvil I use to make copper jewelry, sitting on top of it all night. It's flattened it down some, and I'm hoping that one more coat is gonna cover it. Let's see how it goes, y'all.
Part of bringing all of this wiring into this box of wiring is the reason why this rig is still so torn apart. It's not actually torn apart, it's taken apart. All the components are painted and ready to put in, but I'm a big dude, so I'm leaving as much of it out as possible while I run wiring. Now what I'm working on back here is the process that what I mean by wiring. So I've added lights as well as a USB port here, and I have that to replicate multiple times over. But everything gets a waterproof heat shrink. I'm using quality cabling as well. No detail is forgotten, y'all. It just takes a while. Let's keep moving.
Oh, that's awesome, y'all. It still needs a little bit of finish work, but I may have made it a little big for the hole, so I have been working on sanding it down to make it fit again. I think it's gonna work well. Much, much better than before.
Unfortunately, the sun is going away out there. I've been working on electrical almost all day. There's wiring that runs back here through the cabinets. There's wiring that comes up from underneath into this. There's gonna be more coming out of this cabinet into here. One of the last things I'm doing is I'm getting ready to install the liquid propane gauge right here. And this is our control board that I made several months ago. So basically we have a series of 12 volt switches, plugs. We have our 110 breakers. We have our 12 volt breakers. We have a switch for an auxiliary outside plug. We have our main throw. We have our main breaker for our shore power. And then we also have some breakers for the solar power. There's even more hidden in that darkness, but you know, I'm not ready to show that to you yet. But I just wanted to show this. Because even this, I have to make all of this. Sure, it's just a little piece of aluminum to hold a gauge, but everything is made by these hands. Tomorrow, these hands will make some more. I've got to hide from these biting flies, though. Whew, they're brutal. Me and Kelsey are taking advantage of these shade trees because it's starting to get hot here in Florida. So in the name of getting that project that's hiding on the other side of that building finished, we also have to take care of ourselves so we can get out of here, Kelsey. And one of the things we have to do to take care of ourselves is, I'm going to admit a dirty secret. We've been using this as our power source, basically. So I have a pass-through installed on the Love Hut, and this thing plugs into it, and I have been alligator clamping straight to our battery and using this to charge it. But since we've been here, we've had to do that pretty consistently because the path of the sun is in essence through here, and it's not really netted us a lot of solar because of where we're parked. And through our overuse of this product for not as which it was designed, because it is a 15 amp rapid charge. So this is to charge your car battery, your truck battery. Something happened and it grounded out. Assumably some of the components inside just had enough. So we got to get rid of that. And I'm going to be installing something that I put in all the other builds that I do, but you know, it just was too good for us. But I think it's time. It's time we upgraded to safety instead of whatever I picked up at Walmart. This is going to be a converter. So this will provide a continuous 35 amp charge. And it's rated low enough that you can plug it into just your average 15 amp outlet and it will not endanger pushing that limit. These things just have a plug on the back of it, but if you order too high of an amperage, it's going to need some hefty copper to provide power to that plug. But the plug still looks the same. It is a weird component. I'm also going to be wiring it up because we have two different battery systems in the Love Hut as well, because we have two different chemical types of batteries. So I'm going to be wiring it so that I have a switch on it and I can swap between a lithium battery and a gel battery into where it's going to be sending its power. Oh, I'm excited about this one.
So guys, as for my project, it being thicker than anticipated wound up being a bit more of a problem than I thought it was going to be. But no worries, Shane fixed it like he fixes everything. And I now have my final coat of epoxy. And it will be ready to hang tonight. While that dries, I'm gonna do my best to help Shane get his work area cleaned up a bit because we're preparing to leave no trace very, very soon, y'all. I know it looks like there's a lot left, But in comparison to what's been done, it's nothing, babe.
It's just covers. Most of that's a couch, Kelsey. We might can get that in here if I, hump to it.
In the meantime, I'm gonna help clean up your workspace.
I would appreciate that.
I did this a few weeks ago, but you know.
I love a good mess. Boy, howdy. Well, through great debate with myself, I have decided to not clean this thing up and give you a great end of week presentation. I know you all have been waiting very patiently to see that, but I have more to do, and that's just gonna create double work for me. Make sure you come back next week, because my intent is to be finishing up all of these systems so I can smack this thing on the butt and say goodbye to it. If you're looking for a different point of view into our lives, check out some of our other social media like Facebook and Instagram. You can even send us an email at loveupforlife@gmail.com. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace out, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, y'all.